Now that's a really interesting strobe effect. I don't know why it's doing that. Give me a second. Okay, I'm not going to pretend to understand. Hold on. Okay, everybody. Right, did I unmute my mic? Yes, I did. All right. Don't mind the really, really odd flickering. I don't know why it's doing that. It seems to only do that if I don't have something in the shot. It's kind of weird. Tonight, we're going to start working on our Primaris Lieutenant. This is the Phobos Lieutenant that came from the Leviathan box set. As fun as it is to paint blue, gold, and brown every day, all the time, we're actually going to start with something different. I'm going to be painting the Tyranid bits and pieces that are located on this model. I'll be doing my best and closest approximation to Games Workshop's own scheme for their colors. You'll see there is one underneath his. Yeah, already halfway done. You're right. The hardest part's done for me. It's incredible, isn't it? There's one underneath of his foot. He's also wearing one on his shoulder pad. So I think we're going to start with those first. It's kind of Monster Hunter-ish. He's been on that planet for a while, and he's been fighting these bugs for a minute. Gonna make him look real good. Gonna do him up nice. I'm going to begin by base coating these parts with Abaddon Black. And learn to mute my microphone now when I use my Vortex Shaker. Didn't realize it was vibrating everything. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Get a little bit of this black on my palette. And before I forget, for those of you who are waiting to see the previously finished Intercessor, he is done completely. I just have not had the opportunity to dress everything down and set up all the stuff to take photos of him just yet. Soon. Trademark. All right, make sure you guys can actually see everything properly. Looks good. I'm going to eyeball him for a moment, make sure I can differentiate what's Tyranid and what isn't. Looks like he's got it strapped to his armor. Just gonna work all around the place. Try and avoid those straps. I haven't quite decided how I wanted to paint them yet. I'm okay with having started with this being blue. Painting black over the crag blue is way easier than going the opposite direction. And painting leathers or anything, any type of browns over the blue is also way easier than trying to paint it over black. So just got to try and be careful. All the way up here. See, I'm missing some spots without realizing it. Trying not to block my own light with my hand, but it's proving to be quite the challenge. I'm going to turn a little bit. Won't be that bad. Right. It really is. Trying to get lighting set up is such a pain. And then I have to compensate for the camera and everything else too to get an actually decent picture. It is so hot in here right now. I am on fire. Sweating. Sweating for you guys right now. It's a very difficult balance to achieve because the camera wants lower light to get a better picture. But if I really get it down to where it wants, then I can't see anything. I'm basically working in a dark room. It makes it very hard to see everything that I'm doing. Sometimes I miss spots. It's not till I pull my hand away or step back and kind of pull the model away and look at it that I'm like, oh boy, I'm really messing up here. Around the top. Make sure we want to get all this in black. So I like the idea that this Phobos lieutenant has gone toe to toe with one of the more older Tyranid that he's had to hide and fight against. So I'm going to be painting a very dark tone of the Leviathan colors. The purple scheme I'm sure everybody's familiar with if you've ever seen a piece of Tyranid promotional material. I do like it, and it does contrast pretty well against the ultramarine blue. But I'm doing this dark because some of the lighter colors almost look too pinkish, too cartoonish in a way. I don't know. They've got in-lore reasons, and I like the idea that he might have killed an older, more experienced Tyranid, and he's wearing its toughened, hardened carapace as extra armor, or he's just flexing on the bugs. But they're not afraid of anything. They're too stupid or too smart to comprehend whatever he might be doing. So it could be all for naught. It looks really cool. So that's it for the black base coat on that part. I'm going to check the rest of his model real quick, make sure he doesn't have any other little chitinous pieces that I'm not aware of. Ooh. Maybe throw a piece around while I'm at it. Don't see anything else. The little brain bug that he's standing on, I think I am going to give that a lighter tone just to show the difference, that there is a difference in the age to some of these things. I know these in particular are newish models, but they're very small, very, very small little babies. Okay. They were pretty good on our base cut. Why is it doing that? That is so horrible. Is it this? It is this. Alright, anyway. Doing that before. Here we go. Our next color, we're going to be highlighting it with Nagaroth Knight. Now I like the way that the chitin is sometimes painted, where they put these streaks along the inside of the carapace. I think that looks really cool and gives a lot of depth and definition to what would otherwise just be a flat piece of, chitin. My favorite one to paint so far? I mean, honestly, they're all really kind of the same model. You just paint power armor. But if I really had to pick one, let me think about that. I did really enjoy painting one of the Blade Guard veterans, and another model that I did a long time ago when I was really trying to iron down what kind of Ultramarine scheme it was that I had wanted to paint. I took 5 of the old style Marines. I hate saying that now, but it is what it is. 5 of the older style of Marines, and painted each of them in a different brand's equivalent of McCragg blue. And one of them in particular stuck out to me really well. He had like a nice, almost like candy blue kind of color to him. It was very pleasing to my eyes. I liked him an awful lot. I painted him all the way through. Gave him a little plasma pistol and a power fist, and I think he even has one of those ultramarine helmet pieces, the horsehair things. I don't know what they're called. A crest. He had a crest. That was a lot of fun to paint. Second to him is my Space Marine Jump Captain. I actually keep him close. He was a lot of fun to paint. You pull him up real quick. This guy right here. I had a lot of fun painting him. I didn't finish the plasma pistol yet because I was deciding between trying to airbrush OSL onto it or just painting it by hand, and couldn't make a decision, so I never picked one. There he sits. He's a lot of fun. He's completely magnetized. As you can see, he has the crested helmet on top. I love the old Ultramarine aesthetic, the Greco-Roman style of things that they used to have, but the design team's been stepping away from with each new release, to the point where there's not really anything like that anymore for the Ultramarines. But I'll still try to find ways to squeeze it in where I can. That's the wrong piece. Here we go. Now, because I'm not completely familiar with this will be the first time I'm trying to paint this particular paint scheme. I do have some references pulled up. Do not be afraid to use references. I'm going to edge highlight this chitinous armor with the Nagaroth Knight. It's going to be very hard to notice over the Abaddon Black. But that's okay. This is just back into the idea of blending colors up. I don't have to be completely precise with this. This is meant to be something a little bit more organic. The power armor is a little harder to get away with because hard shapes. It's armor, you know, it's all made out of the same thing. There's not going to be much of any variation in how one part's going to look over the other. That's spray painted, you know. But the chitin, I imagine, can appear differently in certain spots. Well, what if I told you that I never really use it? It's really great for doing some things, but a lot of people think that the airbrush is the answer to everything. It's really not. I'd say it's more of a shortcut for specific things. Nowadays, it's just it's such a pain to get the thing out, get it set up, that it's not even worth it unless you've got a lot of work that you're planning to do with it. Just try to find ways to recreate it by hand. The steroids of painting. Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, if you really want smooth gradients, that's the way to get it, is with an airbrush. You can do it by brush, but it's very time consuming to recreate what the airbrush is capable of doing incredibly quickly. Now, some people get an airbrush and then try to find every reason that they can to use it, and those are fun models to see. Not saying anybody's name in particular, but I've definitely seen some in the past where baby's first airbrush and they absolutely ruin their model. Just like painting, it's another skill that takes time and practice to get good at. You can do some really cool stuff with it, but you have to be willing to put the same amount of time in it that you would have been willing to put into painting with a regular brush. And it has its own host of issues as well. I end up using it for shading larger models with flat surfaces, or applying large base coats on flat surfaces, and occasionally whip it out for some OSL. That's only if I want to get really crazy about it. Like it's easy to do too much when you're trying to airbrush something, especially when you're doing something like OSL. And if you're not familiar with how to control your brush, you can make a mess out of whatever it is that you're painting. But it's just funny to have to go through this whole ritual to set the thing up, just to hold the model up and go, shh, 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 and you're done. And that's it. Clean it, gotta strip it, gotta put it away. Everything, just for little spritz here and there, little color mix. I might do something with the airbrush in the future, but not anytime soon. So we have the Nagaroth Knight down. OSL is object source lighting. I could show you If you give me a second, I'll go get the last model that I did it on. Object source lighting is when you try to paint parts of your models to. Music really doesn't know what volume it wants to be at, does it? I can't even hear myself think right now. You're trying to make it look like it's real light, but not really. This is a Sororitas Canoness that I painted. She's fully magnetized. She was a lot of fun. This is a while ago. I've decided I'm going to be painting all of my Sisters of Battle at roughly this quality, even the infantry, because I'm crazy. And I just love these models. They're so much fun to paint. But if you notice, let me get my pointer, how on the tiles down here, there's just a little bit of edge highlighting. This was painted on by hand. But how you have the candles that are lit here, very bright white light, and you can see the light as it comes out across the tile and gets into the darkness over here. This is not the light or anything that's hitting the model from any of my lights, but this is what it's painted to look like. You can see the change in the color over the robe as if it's reflecting the candle. This one is closer, so it's brighter here. You can even see on the plasma pistol, see if I can get that in focus. This was done with OSL as well. So this is a whole bunch of different colors mixed together, airbrushed at varying degrees, and then cleaned up with a little bit of painting. The candle reflection is painted onto the metallic pieces of the bolt of the plasma gun too. They both reflect on each other. So you can see slight hints of blue in certain areas where the plasma gun is close, and you can see red on the plasma gun where it correlates to the location of the candle. So you have to try to pretend like everything is lit for real and paint your best representation of that so it creates the illusion that there's actually light there. It's pretty fun. Very time consuming, very trial and error. It takes a bit to really figure out what the right amount is before it becomes too much. It's best to have too little as opposed to too much. I've got some other OSL too. I think I have a Layman Rust somewhere. Don't know where it's at right now, but it was a Executioner Plasma Cannon. I did OSL on that, super bright blue. It looks incredible, like it's actually lit. It will burn you. This is done with a mixture of contrast paints and fluorescent paints, as well as just normal acrylic ones. But I got a bit sidetracked. To get back to what we were doing, we did the Nagaroth Knight. Now I'm going to mix it 2 drops of Nagaroth to 3 drops of Screamer ink. Stir this up on my palette. I could do a stream about it in the future, how to do OSL and everything like that, but busting out the airbrush for it, it's kind of hard to speak over the sound of a compressor. I could do it. I don't think a lot of people want to listen to that, though. Oh my gosh. Give me just 1 second. My Scrimmer Pink is trying to make a mess right now. Okay. I'm gonna mix these up. Keep a little toothpick on hand just for this. This is gonna give us a super dark lavender color. I'm going to do another thin highlight of this. I go around and get all of the edges. Make sure we don't cover up too much of the previous edge highlight. No, not yet. Working on that though. One day soon I'll be able to afford the second camera. Still pretty dark. It's very much a kind of majestic looking, royalish kind of purple thing that's going on here right now. We're just building our way up until we can do the actual highlights and little scratch marks that are going to be dotted all over the carapace. Get on top here. That was way too much paint. tracing out all the raised surfaces and the chitin. Working along the edges. All right, we're getting there. It is a little bit hard to see on the camera, but those purple tones, as we're getting closer and closer to the edges, really separate all the different parts of the shoulder pad here from each other. It's looking very nice. Next, we do Gene Stealer Purple. This is where we start doing our actual super thin edge highlight and doing our little scratch marks on the kite. Whew, trying to mix this up. How's everybody doing today? What are we working on? What are we painting? I know my stream title might have been a little deceptive. We'll get to the Ultramarine here soon. We don't have a whole lot of Tyranid here to paint. It's a brand new paint pot right here. Right. This is a much brighter purple. Yeah, Dread Knights are sick. I remember you telling me about that. You got a lot of open water ahead of you. Make sure we got this nice and thin on our brush, very controlled. As you can see, there's not a lot of paint going on there. We're going to paint our edge highlights just along the edges, because this is going to be very thin. Hold on. Too thin, maybe. What's going on? There we go. This is like a lavender. And all our edges. Working our way around. And we're actually going to look for the cracks now. And we're going to paint along the outside. We're going to highlight those cracks with this Gene Stealer Purple. While we're carrying on with our edge highlight. That's the top part of that. To our bottom now. highlight those creases and cracks. All right. We're fighting against salamanders. Don't get close. Stay away from the flamers, or they're going to overwatch you and it's going to hurt a lot. Your chapter master is very scary. I could get into more detail with that, but I need to focus just a little bit. Still edge highlighting our Gene Stealer purple. All right, looks good. Now we can start doing our hatch marks on the armor after I take a quick drink. And my next colors here are going to be Administratum Gray. Now we're just going to be painting the chitin for or not. I'm sorry. This is going to be the small little strokes, the little lines that you see against the plating of the armor. I'm going to try to find pre-sculpted divots and pot marks and everything that are already put into the armor, but for the most part, don't really have a lot of these. So this part is kind of up to you. Use your discretion. I like to at least what I'm going to be doing with the this first part, because the next layer I'm going to do is the last one. It's going to be very small. This is very bright. I'm going to be painting the longer lines of this Administratum Gray. I'm going to do some long lines and some short ones. And I'm going to take my final highlight color. I'm going to paint on the insides of those and in between them. Maybe just on the insides. We'll see. We'll see how it feels. I'll do a little bit of it, see how it looks. If I like it, great. Don't like it, oh no. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's not like you can't just paint back over it. That's the great thing about working on stuff like this. If you really mess it up super bad, it's okay. You can just strip the model. Start from step one. Or you know what? Here's a better question. If you want tips for fighting against salamanders, helps to know what you're playing as well. We're going to make sure that we don't have barely any paint on our brush here. So we get the finest point that we can, and we're really trying not to deposit blobs of paint on our brush, on our model. Here we go, that's perfect. I want to be very, very stingy with this. See now, painting it that is very easy to do too much. Got a little bit of tip dry here. You see we have our markings on the top. What are some good ideas for highlighting and decorating large flat armor plates? Well, that's something I've found the airbrush incredibly useful for. I usually just edge highlight all of my big boxy vehicles. I've done some rhinos in the past that are literally just boxes on wheels, or treads, I should say. Hold on one second. Some paint on my brush here. And I edge highlight them like normal, but I will go. Well, no, I do this first. I'm sorry. I will isolate, either mask off with some masking tape, use whatever means you have to achieve this with my airbrush. And I'll take, of course, I use McCrag blue for my base coats. I use, where's it at? I have it here somewhere. It's a nightshade, Drakenhof nightshade I put into my airbrush. And I will mask off the face of the armor that is closest towards the bottom of the model, and spray the airbrush over the armor plate so that half of your airbrush spray is just going off of the model completely. And what that will do, it'll create a gradient shade of that Drakenhof nightshade, very thin. So very thin. You don't want to cover up the McCrag blue. You just want to tint the McCrag blue on a little bit of the bottom side of that panel. And once you peel off that masking and you do the edge highlighting of it, it creates such a nice, tasty shade color. I don't know how to describe it. I'd show it to you, but I don't have those models anymore. As far as decorating them is concerned, just paint a mural. Step one, Do a bunch of circles, and step 2, paint the rest of the damn owl. Come on. It's that easy. No, if you really want to put stuff onto your larger plates and panels, water slide decals will work for you. They're very easy to use. Really good results. If you're feeling really brave, you could actually hand paint some stuff on your miniatures as well. I've seen quite a few people do that. That's not something I've done yet, but I see how that could be difficult for a lot of people. It does help to have some type of actual artistic background. And that's the arms now. Very, very thin lines. If you're working with large flat panels, it does help to create some type of contrast. That way, you're not just looking at a gigantic flat panel of just one color. That's why I go through the effort that I do on my Space Marine shoulder pads, for example, to recess shade and edge highlight the inside of the pauldron to really give it way more depth. You're almost having to paint the new part of the model onto the model. Okay. This is the lines of the Administratum Gray. And now we're going to be taking I'll be using Decala Lilac, mixing 1-to-1 with a white equivalent. For that, I'll be using Vallejo's game color for my white. Yeah, if you want, you can message me on Facebook or what have you. I'm under the same name on every single one of these platforms, Crimson Bench, and I can get back to you with actual written details and descriptions on how to do some of this kind of stuff until I have time to actually stream it or make a video about it in the future. Pardon me, I seem to be having some problems with this Dahlia. I haven't even opened it yet. The next 40k game is going to be this Sunday. We'll be playing a matched play game. It will be Ultramarines again versus Drakari. Colby over again. We're going to be playing a competitive game using the new chapter-approved missions. Stuff is really thick. What's going on in here? He's been doing nothing but playing against my guard. I figured it'd be nice to mix it up a little bit and have him play against my Ultramarines again, for old time's sake. Now this is made a very soft kind of pink color. And we're going to be very carefully painting into those administratum lines. Only some of them. Don't want to overdo it. Very, very tiny. Painting inside those hatch marks from earlier. Maybe go halfway up on some of them, quarter of the way up on others. Ooh, that was way too much. It's okay to make mistakes. And that's it for the chitin. Alright. I'm going to do the one on his feet now. This one's going to be younger, but not a baby entirely, so I'm going to start with a different mixture of colors. Whereas before, I had done Nagaroth to Screamer Pink 2 to 3, I will be doing instead Screamer Pink 3 to Nagaroth 2. This is going to give us more of um, the more reddish color. This is the color scheme I'll be using for most of my tier, actually. I reserve that dark color for older ones, like the Swarm Lord or perhaps a Carnifex. This model actually will be in Sunday's game. He is an important piece in holding down my backfield, as well as his special ability to select an objective and make it so that you can reroll all wound rolls of 1 against enemy targets that are on that objective. Incredibly powerful. Does not require line of sight, only requires that he be alive. It's made quite a difference. That combined with Oath of Moment can really start tearing targets up. Lone Op as well makes him very hard to kill, and he has a reactive move. So if your opponent happens to move somewhere within, I can't remember if it's 9 inches or something like that of him, he can move up to 6 inches or D6 inches or something like that away. So if somebody's trying to deep strike on you, on your backfield, you can just move and keep them alive. Maybe camp next to some terrain, see if something to hide him behind. Okay, I have my mixture. I'm going to go in and base coat all of the chitin just like that. Working our way around. I think I'm going to help myself out a little bit here by very carefully prying this guy off. Come on. There we go. I haven't got to worry too much about getting any on him. Yes. If he's next to Girly Man, he is an Ultramarine unit, and if he's within 3 inches, then he will give Rebut Gilliman his Lone Op ability. So you will have both of them untargetable next to each other. Ain't that just fun? That's cool, huh? I like that. Yes. Nerf those damn sisters. They know what they did. It's a pretty interesting little combo, but honestly, you're really not going to use it all that often. You really don't want Gilliman to just be hanging out in the backfield. And you also don't want your Phobos Lieutenant in the midfield. So the Phobos Lieutenant will just be hanging out in the back, scoring you some points, preventing some deep strikeage. And Gilliman will be moving up with your army, ready to mess some stuff up. As you saw, the guy is quite the beast. And melee combat. Oh, Lord. That combined with heroic intervention, you can do some really nasty things with Robot Gilliman. Rabute. Rubber butt, girly man. Rowboat gorilla man. How many normal humans do you think it would take? Or who would win in a fight? 100 humans or one gorilla man? Is that chitin or is that brain? I think it's brain. I think my music might have stopped and I can't have that. You know what? Targeted sisters nerf. We're nerfing the Repentia again. They're chain swords. Chain swords now. They're no longer eviscerators. You lose an additional strength. And an AP. Plus 10 points. Dude, can't forget. Gotta pay for that upgrade. We're almost good here on our carapace. A little bit on here on the inside too, just in case you can see some of it once the piece goes back in. Why not? Let's go around and do one more base coat. while that's drying. I'm going to mix up the highlight color. I'm actually be shading it with Abaddon Black. I still have that on my palette, so give this a little blow, help it dry off a little bit. And very carefully paint into the recesses with this Abaddon Black. There are little creases and crevices. Do not need a lot. Isn't really much to shade in the first place. Now we'll be highlighting with Screamer Pink. This is going to be a nice thicker edge highlight. We're just going to do all of our raised surfaces here too. Make sure we avoid the black. Don't want to paint any of that in. Working all the way around. Looking for all the raised, round surfaces and corners. See, we're almost there. All right. That's the Screamer Pink. See, we do have quite a bit of difference here in our colors. Now we are going to take the Decala Lilac from earlier and mix it 2-to-1 to our Screamer Pink. What do I do with my mixing stick? Nope. That one was having a little bit of a harder time. It didn't really want to mix. I'm going to do the same thing with this that I did with my edge highlight from earlier. I'm just going to edge highlight with this one very thin. Keep working around, make sure we keep it thin and consistent. Inside all of our edges too. Looking pretty good so far. And our final color, and what we'll be painting the little hatch marks with, is Decolor Lilac, 2 drops to 1 drop of White Scar. Or I say White Scar, but anyway, I'm going to keep on using my delay. This is another very lavender pink color. Make sure it's very thin on our brush. We're going to do our little hatch marks. Make sure you keep a nice tip. Get a little bit here too. All right. Our carapace is looking very good. That is it for the Tyranid parts of these models. I lied. There is actually the flesh. We'll do the flesh too. So we've got the darker tone and the lighter tone of the Tyranid armor. I've noticed the purple on this is kind of lost on the camera, unfortunately, unless I've got a bad angle on my monitor here, but it is the slightest little hint of a dark purple on that really brings these colors together. They look so tasty and so punchy. So I've noticed there's a small spot here. I'm going to do this in a flesh tone, and the tentacles will also be doing in the same fashion. I'm going to take a quick drink and get my recipes ready. going to be base coating my fleshy colors here with Wraithbone, which I have somewhere on my table here. Somewhere. You might think after a certain point I do this to myself on purpose. That is not true. It is entirely accidental. Here it is. Right. Dropper bottles giving me a hard time here. Thank you for the follow. And welcome to the bench warmers. We're painting the Tyranid portion of the Primaris Lieutenant right now, using Games Workshop Studio scheme. Once we're done with that, then I'll probably start working on the base coats for the Ultramarine itself. But I'm going to do my base coats for the fleshy parts of these Tyranid bits. Start by base coating them with Wraithbone, and we can almost kind of get it wherever we want, except the spots that we painted already, obviously. But the rest of this part of the model is going to get painted later on anyway. I'm not too worried about covering any of this up. If you're new to the bench, I do paintings every Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually try to go for a couple of hours. And on Sundays, play a game of 40K live, whether it be something a little more casual and narrative-based, or like this weekend, we'll be playing a competitive game. Try to have a whole bunch of different people online to play. It's done in person. Should say online. To have a nice varied mixture of the different army types. If you're interested in watching any of those or any of the previous painting sessions that I've done, they also get uploaded in their entirety to YouTube not too long after they're done, where it's also streamed if you don't like Twitch for some reason. This might look really, really chalky with it being Wraithbone and all, but we're going to be adding a couple of different washes and colors onto it too. Really give it a nasty, kind of sickly purple color to all of it. Make sure we get all over these tentacles. This is going to take a secondary and possibly a third coat. Paint this little bit of tattered flesh that's been snuck inside our shoulder pad here. A little bit of something to break up the chitin. Get it from upside down. Remember when you are painting cream colors, flesh tones, lighter colors like this, it is always better to do multiple thin coats. It may be tempting to just put on one thick one if it is aggravating. You might feel like you're not really making a lot of progress while you're painting it on, but it is worth it. Just do multiple coats. You'll thank yourself later. Alright, another base coat for this guy. Probably need one more. Into all his nooks and crannies. He's coming along. He still needs more. While that's drying, we'll go back and touch up the other piece again. Who knew that was going to happen? Slipped out of my hand and painted over the chitin. That's okay. Nobody will notice. As long as I don't tell them, right? Nobody saw that. Now for what is going to hopefully be the last base coat on this guy. Hmm. Paint does not like these tentacles very much. Okay. Have little spots on the inside here. Going to touch up real quick. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with that. I'm going to get my contrast paint Magos Purple. This is a very fun one. Going to thin it down ever so slightly with contrast medium. This is going to be 1 part Magus Purple to 2 parts contrast medium. Well, that was a lie. That's my contrast medium right now. Very cool. Ugh, that's not going anywhere. So I'm just going to thin it with good old water. Screw it. Hmm. Get some water now. This doesn't necessarily have to be anything exact. This is one of those kind of deals that comes with experience a little bit. The goal of this is to just be a wash for our model. We don't really want this to cover up all of it. It's just to we just want to add a tent to our model, basically. That's pretty good right there. And then we're going to go over the entirety of the tentacle, just like this. You can see how we're just tinting it. We're not necessarily painting over the wraith bone with this contrast. Just giving it a nice filter. Toning up that flesh a little bit. We're going to do the same thing on the flesh on the shoulder. Very subtle, but that's okay. That's all we need it to be. Because now we're just going to do straight up Magos Purple. We're going to recess shade with our Magos Purple. So we're going to be painting this into just the recesses. We wanted to fill in all those areas with lots of darkness. I'm going to get my very tiny baby brush for this. You can almost just kind of dot it into where you want it to go. Very nice. Do that for the rest of it. And we'll get into the recesses where they cross over one another. That is what will give it its depth. I have very nasty flesh tone colors now here. Onto the flesh on the arm. Just going to paint that into the recesses. It's all drying, so I'm going to get my thorax white now. And this is going to be used to paint the highlights on the flesh. Wow, this just took the whole lid off. Huh. I would dry brush this, but I don't feel like it tonight. I'm going to paint it on. Still struggling with my paints here. Hold on. Battle never ends. We're just going to do just along the top here. Actually, I'm just going to thin it out just a little bit too. You want to go overboard with it. Too thin. Gonna dot all the way down. There we go. And we're looking pretty good. here and touch this up now. All right. So I haven't sussed out my brain goop yet. I have to come back to that at a later date. Not that there's a whole lot of it there, but we could do something else a little bit fun instead. I'm going to paint the blood that's on his blade. I love a nice green ichor blood, so I'm going to get my white. This being Vallejo's game color. Dead white. He's got some dripping off of his blade here. I kind of bent it a little bit by accident, but it's okay. Nobody will notice. I'm going to paint it white. Pure white. I'm just going to take a couple of coats of this. Make sure we get both sides. Get all the little areas. All right, we're almost looking almost pretty good here. And we'll paint up the tip of the blade too. Left it kind of splotchy and messy up here on purpose. This is just pure white. And then here's my favorite part, and this is so easy, probably one of my favorite types of paint to do. I'm going to take Tesseract Glow, which is a technical paint. sure we mix this one up really good. Likes to sit and settle. This is Tesseract Glow. Very bright, vibrant green. I love this, and it looks amazing over white. Don't need a lot of this. And if you'll notice, it's only kind of darkening the blue, but as I paint it over the white, oh, it's so bright. Lots of nice green, icky alien blood. Just want to do one thin coat of that. Back away now. Give it a moment to dry. Let me just take a look at that though. Doesn't that look nice? You still have the white on the palette. I'm just going to take my small brush here and very, very carefully thin down some of my white. And I'm going to paint it on some of it. Towards the top. We can get a good amount on the bottom of these too. Really show this is some viscous stuff. Touch the edges. And we're good with our blood. So we've got our Tyranid, for the most part, done. With the exception of the brain colors. I'll have to figure that out. I would have liked to have done that tonight, but so go around and touch up some of the base coats with my Abaddon Black that I do have on my palette. So I'll be going around and picking out the different parts of the Ultramarine armor with this color while I still have it. Into our recesses here. Just want to make sure I can actually see what I'm painting. I'm actually just going to fill that in with Nuln Oil. I don't trust myself to paint into such a small area. We have our gloves. Just very, very carefully do the inside of the fingers here. Very nice. Touch up around his neck. Get all the way around. Right. Do the black on the combi bolter. This guy was kitted out. coding can be so boring. I'd rather just highlight stuff all day. Some people might think I'm a madman for saying that, but that's okay. I've been called crazy for lesser reasons. Okay, about done with the base code on the zombie weapon. Yeah, pretty good. No blood on this blade. Getting his little ankles. Actually, been my first time painting a Phobos model. Kind of a pain. trouble getting into all the details I want. other little details. Good. Back together real quick. And I'm going to call it there. I was just going to do the Tyranid portions of the model tonight. Next time, we'll wrap them up with the brain once I figure out how I want to paint that. And then we'll get into painting the rest of the Ultramarine properties. So, thank you for joining me. I am going to actually take a couple of photos of what's done with the Tyranid and upload that to the Instagram and the Facebook page as well. So you'll be able to see what those look like for real. Like I said, my webcam here does not capture the true color depth of what is here. I'll be able to better show it on a camera. But thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. This Sunday, we'll be playing a game, 40k Ultramarines versus Dark Eldar. Be there, witness me as I put those filthy knife ears into their place. You can find the links to all the other socials and everything down in the description below. Feel free to like and follow. I'll try to post when I